my name is Elle. I'm a cross-stitch artist and designer here on TikTok, and today I'm going to be answering Beck Anderson's question, tips for getting my stitches as neat and uniformed as yours. I'm going to start by apologizing. I have been sitting on this question for close to a month now, and I've actually answered some questions that came after this one, mainly because I'm not quite sure how to answer this. Like, I want to give you succinct tips that you can take and use and utilize, and I realized that I don't know how to put into words like what it is that I do that makes them seem neat and uniform. And so in preparing to make this video, I actually went and looked up what are some tips to make your cross stitch pieces neat and uniformed. And I realized a lot of the tips that are out there, I don't actually use or follow. So I think that that's probably why I was having such a hard time coming up with things to tell you to do is because I've always said cross-stitching is a choose-your-own-adventure craft, and there's no one right way to do something. And so when you go and you look up, a blog post about tips for how to keep your stitches neat and uniformed, you'll come up with things like railroading or using the parking method or things like that. And to be completely honest with you, I've never done any of those things. I tie knots on the back of my pieces, and I mix up the order that I stitch things in, and I break all of the rules. And I guess in a way what I'm trying to say is that's part of why I'm so passionate about teaching you that there are so many different ways to do things. Because what works for me is not what the rest of the cross-stitching world seems to say is the best way to get neat and uniform stitches, and yet I have pieces that are beautiful. They are neat, they are uniform, the backs of them are gorgeous, but I don't necessarily follow all of those rules. So I guess my one piece of takeaway advice would be try out all of the different methods. Try out all of the things that I teach in my tutorial playlist. I've got a whole playlist full of videos. Try out all the different methods and figure out what works best for you. Because ultimately, if something is difficult for you, or it just doesn't come easily, if it doesn't work with your style of stitching, your stitching isn't going to end up being as neat and uniform, or it's going to take you a lot longer to get there. So figure out what works and just go with that. The best way to stitch is the way that works best for you. So I hope that helps, and as always, happy stitching.